Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Seems like you're back upon your own legs. Seems like you're finding your own voice. I used to hear it every morning, but now we finally have a choice. Some days I wanted peace and quiet. Some days I want a violent song. Some days it's easier to forget all of the days we got it wrong. And maybe we're crazy for letting it end. Maybe we were for letting it start. But it's been a path to a bigger heart. So give me those rose-colored glasses. I will remember this anyway, that I wish rose-colored glasses. Let me swim out of this separate heaviness. I know I could pick it all apart, and I'm sure that you could too. So give me those rose-colored glasses when I look back at me and you. Ooh, when I look back at me and you. So many things have turned out different than we predicted that they would. You're looking stronger from a distance.
What's up, everybody? I got David from the collection on the show today. How you doing today, David?
I'm good. How are you, Shane?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Excited to have you here. Excited to deep dive into your music and you, and pump out the awesome new EP that dropped, How to Survive an Ending.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. It's fun to talk about it.
Well, I mean, it did recently come out, so I mean, quick thoughts. I mean, how happy are you about the finished product? You know, what was the labor of love going into it?
Yeah, I feel really happy with it. We've been touring with the same group of members for the last 5 years. I mean, obviously, other than the few years where nobody was touring, but we haven't really had a chance to put together a full body of work with this band. So it's strange, our emotional state around it is okay, we have this band that feels like us and it feels like the collection, but what people are hearing presented digitally is not what that band is. And so it feels to me just so amazing to be finally, here's what we sound like, here's what we've sounded like for a few years. And I feel like the EP does a better job of capturing that than anything else we've done in the past. So yeah, I'm feeling excited about it.
Well, that is awesome. I mean, you've gone from how the band started many moons ago. If people don't know, I've been doing this probably since 2008. You probably started this little venture and continued to build and demolish and build and demolish the band, as we say.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, it was really just a lot of friends that sometimes would play something on the weekends, and I would just put together songs and hand people sheet music, and so it's been happening for a long time. But I feel like this crew of people especially was kind of the first time that it was we're a full-time touring band and really trying to build something that feels like the sum of its parts instead of just a thing that's being passed off from one person.
Yeah, and so it's that curation that you had with everyone in the band, and now making it more of a band than, like you said, someone just saying, "Hey, here, I wrote these songs. This is how we're playing them. Let's go do this."
Totally, for sure. And it's good because it's such great musicians in this band. I feel very lucky, constantly, and not just great musicians, but just amazing people, which I think has tended to be true. We've had a lot of people that have played in and out of the band at various times, and I've just felt lucky that we've had a lot of good people in this group. But there's just a really sweet family style band dynamic with this group of people that I think, it makes me excited, like with that, for people then to hear like the musical personalities of everybody in the group a lot more, because their actual like emotional personalities are coming through a lot stronger even in my life. So it's like, cool. I can't wait to show off my friends. Like it feels that way.
Well, they take their part seriously, and when it comes to playing their instrument to something they had a hand in helping create, I mean, it's easier to play that way, right? It's easier to play it live. It's easier to put more passion into it than someone else just saying, "Hey, this is it. We're doing it this way."
Totally, 100%. That's a big part of it.
Now, coming together, writing new songs, putting this out, you had released some things, throughout before the full thing dropped. How have you found the state of today and trying to figure out the releasing world of music?
It's definitely a lot. I mean, it feels like in the years that I've been doing this, it's shifted so drastically. And it's a lot to kind of like, I feel like every 2 years, it's like, okay, this is a different thing than it was before. And how do you fit your head around it? So now it's like, I mean, I think even the way I listen to music has shifted. Like I used to be such an album guy, and I would, I remember when I was growing up, I'd buy a CD and I wouldn't even know if I would like the CD. I just would buy it. I would listen to it 20 times and then I would make a decision about how I felt about it. And
yeah, well, you had to kind of love it because you spent your money on it, right?
Exactly. Like there was a strange pressure on it to be like, I don't want to have wasted my money and my time and whatever. And even as Spotify was in, I think I mostly listen to albums, but like the way stuff has shifted, it's like I actually listen to playlists a lot. I make playlists a lot, and it's easy for me to somebody be like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, God, I don't even know the names of the bands, actually. I just know like this single that I have on my playlist, and I need to go look it up and tell you who this is, who's singing it. And it's been strange to see that shift with us, where like we were just opening for Sammy Ray and the Friends on this most recent tour that we did. And we would play these shows in front of a bunch of new people. And like every single show, people would come up to the merch table and they'd be like, we didn't know who you were. And then you played that one song and we realized we have it on our playlist. And like the name of the game has changed so much more to like just getting singles out there, trying to promote that single and hoping that like people catch on to that thing. And it's so different to me than an album concept. And I love an album concept. So I think for me, it's really changed how I think about songs in terms of like, for my own sake and my own artistic vision, like I want these all to fit together really well. So how do I still create like the album experience and like common themes and common artwork and like things that tie into our live show, while also coming at it from a place of realizing like most people might only hear one of these songs and not even know who we are. And like, how do we make that experience just as meaningful for those people as for the people who are like coming to listen to the EP? So it's a lot more I feel like the state of music today and releasing music today requires a lot more attention than it did like 10 years ago.
Well, I think there's a distinct difference too between a storyteller and a songwriter, and when you're putting together something and you like that whole vision of an album concept and a story flowing through those, for me, that's amazing. When it comes to songwriting, there's songwriters too, and there's songwriters that write one song for Justin Bieber and then another song for somebody else, and those are just songwriters. They're not thinking about anything except for that one simple song that's gonna get massive hits, right?
Totally.
And then there's storytellers who I fall in love with, such as yourself, that there's a common theme running through what I'm listening to on your EP and on your other albums. Like you can just follow and you can be entranced and taken somewhere else instead of hearing that single. And I think a little bit, and I'll ask this, do you feel much more pressure having to play the singles game than you do putting together the album?
I'm like, this is a vulnerable question, which I appreciate. I love vulnerable questions. Yes, I feel much more pressure, 100%. I mean, especially because these days you kind of do the amount of work for a single that you used to do for an album. Like you would prepare an album, you would think about the artwork, you would think about whatever social media there was and radio and blah, blah, and you would do that kind of towards an album and maybe one or two singles. And now it's like, you do all of that stuff for each single that comes out, and each single takes months and months of preparation. And so, yeah, I feel a lot more pressure on it, but I also think I work really well under pressure. Like that's definitely a thing that is like, I need the pressure to hopefully squeeze anything resembling even a bad diamond out, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a lot more pressure and it's a lot more stress, but I also think in the end, it has really pushed me as a songwriter to be like, okay, well, if we have one song coming out in the next 6 months or 4 months or 3 months or whatever it is, and we're going to do all this work for it, like I need to make sure that every element of that song, from like every piece of the melody and every piece of the instrumental and the mix and the master and the socials, all that stuff, like we need to make sure all of that is worthwhile and not being wasted. And so I think, at least for me, it feels like it's elevated my expectations of what we need to be doing in a way that hopefully is making me a little better at it. I'm hoping at least the end result gets there.
And listen, I feel for artists nowadays because, essentially what you just described is, back in the old days when you were a band and you were creating something, you were building a brand around your album and the band itself. And now you have to build that business and that brand around one song at a time.
Yeah.
And wait to see what's going to happen and see what catches and what doesn't. And it's gotta be gut wrenching. I could never create music in today's world the way you're doing. Never.
It's great. I have a really great team, and I think that's something it's something I don't take for granted at all. Like I remember not having much of a team, and it was in some ways less work, but it was still a lot of work for like just me or me and the few band members. And now we just have a lot of amazing people to help and pitch in. So at least in that way, I just feel so grateful for the people in my life that are like a part of the Collection family in a bigger way.
Awesome, man. Now, when it comes to music, how big of a role has music played in your life? For me, as a child, I remember the first time I heard music and it just changed some sort of, I don't know what it was, some sensibility in me to recognize music for the first time. I tell people all the time, I heard the Beach Boys in the back of a car when I was 6 years old, and it changed my life forever. Like to this day, I still go back to that moment. Like, do you remember what changed your sensibility about music and why it has played such a big part in your life?
Totally. It's been there since the beginning. My mom was a choir director, and she also, she plays piano, trumpet, guitar, bass, clarinet, flute. Like, she's amazing and sings, and everybody in my family, I have 3 siblings, and everybody, including my dad, all at least play one instrument pretty well. And even like some of our family gatherings at night, we would just like sit in our living room and like sing harmonies together. And it was such a normal part of my life. And I kind of thought every family did that. And when I found out they didn't, it was like, oh, like no wonder music is just such a big thing to me. And a lot of the context of the music that I was around as a younger kid was, church music and whatnot. And so I think there was a direct line kind of brought between music and some sort of like metaphysical connection in some way. And I think that even as like my ideas and beliefs around any of that stuff have like pretty drastically changed since I was a child, I think that what that did for me was like very much connect music to something much deeper than just like, oh, here's a song I like. But it always felt like music had a sense of importance in its ability to like change people's lives. And that has always stuck with me. And so even though like most of the music that I could mention that probably had an effect on me as a kid, I would almost be embarrassed to, because it was, surrounded by some of those spaces. I think like my earliest memories and ideas around music still affect me to this day, around like the possibility of music being able to like really have a strong effect on somebody's like mental state, honestly.
Well, I think one of the parts, like how you bring up something like that. So me growing up as well, like going to youth groups and stuff like that, there was always music involved. And as for as much as my thoughts have changed around that, the church scene and all that kind of stuff, which is, our right to do so, I think the most important thing that I took out of it was the camaraderie that you got around music, around the leader singing a song and telling a story and understanding and putting words in, into melodies. There's nothing, I don't think it can bring a group of people together faster. I really don't think you can. And that's why music's so important, regardless of where it came from.
Totally. There's some stuff in there that's like, I think especially today, as like everybody has phones, everybody has busy lives, everybody's like, if they're getting together in certain social contexts, it's still like with limitless distractions. But like you bring a bunch of people into a small crowded music venue, and like a lot of people are focused on the same thing in the same emotional state in a way that's so rare in existence today. And like, I still think there's something very emotionally powerful about a lot of people being in that space. And I think that, the church music space, like one of the big influences it had on me was like people writing music, and they're actively thinking about like, how accessible is this melody going to be to people the first time they're hearing it? And how can we create lyrics that are going to feel very deep and moving, but also like accessible to people in a way that's like understandable for a large group of people to get on the same page. And those things have definitely stuck with me as we enter into like venue spaces and touring spaces as like still very important ideas to me around like creating songs and how they work. So yeah, for sure. I think a lot of that stuff has very much stuck, even though the context is completely different.
What was the first, musical thing that you attached yourself to that you fell in love with as a kid?
Like artists?
Yeah, artists or bands, or what, could have been a symphony, something.
Yeah. I mean, when I was really like finally finding my own music that I liked, I had this boombox that it played the radio, and then it had a tape machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit there and like wait for a song I liked to come on the radio and hit record on my tape. So I would have these like, mix tapes that all the beginnings of the songs are cut off. And, there was so much stuff because it was the first time I was really hearing songs for myself that weren't church songs. And I remember just being so into Weezer. It was like such a, like, that was really like Blue Album being played on the radio, and songs like the Sweater Song and all that kind of stuff. Like I was so entranced with the melodies of those songs in such a big way. And I would also, I'd be recording every Linkin Park song. I'd be recording every Coldplay song that came on. Like it was just anybody that had a strong sense of melody and voice and intent were pretty big effects. And like Coldplay is probably the one that stuck with me the longest. I still return to them a lot. And so, I mean, definitely I would put that in one of the most moving. But actually last night I was talking to somebody about Dashboard Confessional. Like that's probably the closest one I remember of just like, I would listen to Dashboard in the car every day and like sing harmonies along with it. And my first album that I ever made as like a 14-year-old was like trying to imitate every old Dashboard song that ever existed. So yeah.
And that was a big thing for, when it comes to Dashboard, I always go back to, trying to explain to people that didn't know, but Chris coming from Further Seems Forever. And then when he did the very first Dashboard, and it was just him and an acoustic, and it was something that I had never expected to hear, especially on the label that it was on. It was on Vagrant Records, and it was a punk rock label, and to hear that come out, and I didn't know what it was. I just bought it because it was on a label that I liked. And it was just so freaking different from anything else I ever thought I would have heard. I was like, oh my God. And then when they got better, when he went electric, I was like, oh, okay, this is just different.
Yeah, totally. That, what's that record called? Like a Mark Emission, something like that. Mark Emission of Brand of Scar. I think that's it. That was the electric record. And it was just like, this is somehow like electric and acoustic and poppy and punk and like all this stuff at the same time that he was like bringing into it. And it was pretty mind blowing to me, honestly. Like at the time it felt pretty revolutionary. And even when you would hear Hands Down on the radio, it was like, it cut through every single other thing on the radio. I mean, it was truly, I can still just scream that entire song to myself in the car.
Now, do you remember the first thing? Was that something you would consider could have been like the first thing you may have found yourself that you took ownership of as music, saying, wow, I love this. I found this. I want to share it with people?
For sure. But I also think like most other people I knew were listening to that a lot. So I think like, honestly, that bridged me into this realization that like, I mean, I probably couldn't even put it into words at the time, but I just started appreciating music that felt deeply emotional and like deeply descriptive about difficult states of mind. And that led me into Bright Eyes, which really I would say Bright Eyes was the first like major thing that I just like, to this day am a giant Bright Eyes fan and Conor Oberst fan. And I think the way he writes music is so powerful, and he has lines that feel very Dylan-esque, but he's so like honest about what's going on, but there's like some hope in there. And I just would like always want to show people Bright Eyes songs and Bright Eyes records. And like, I bought like every single Bright Eyes album that came out. And so I'm more than Dashboard for sure was Bright Eyes.
Nice. Yeah. I've had the nice pleasure to see Bright Eyes and Connor by himself. And he is just one of those, he's a poet. I look back to kind of putting him as in the same realm of an Elliott Smith, that writing sad songs, but they're actually hopeful sad songs.
Totally. They just feel like such an interesting perspective on life. And I think that something that I've always loved about his music, which I mean, is probably more credit to the other two people in Bright Eyes, is like every song, the instrumentation feels built for that song rather than just like Bright Eyes is this group and here's what we do. It's like, here's an acoustic song next to a song with a full symphony orchestra next to like a punk band song. It's just everything was built to fit that music. And that really, I mean, that was one of the more influential realizations on me musically, was like, oh, I want to build things around the songs instead of the opposite way. Which is why, like on our new EP, it's like when I wrote the last track, Love at the End of the World, I just knew immediately I was playing it and I was like, this has to have like a string section and a brass and woodwind section on it. Just like it has to. And I know our band doesn't have all of that, but like it needs it. So I set about scoring it and just, I don't know. I love to look at music that way, to be like, what am I hearing? Instead of like, here's the only limitation, which is like these 6 members or whatever. And then it's fun to figure it out live, like how to do it differently. So yeah, Bright Eyes was big on that for me. And then actually there was a band I discovered called Anathalo. Did you ever know that band?
Anathalo, no.
Yeah, they were. It was kind of around the time also that I was getting into like early Arcade Fire, and I was just starting to love these bands that were like bringing in all these like orchestral instruments. And Anathalo was like a 9-member band, and they had like 3 or 4 horn players, and they would play all these like Japanese taiko style drums and sing weird songs. And they never got very huge. Like I saw them a couple times and it was always in front of like 150 people, but it was like definitely the thing that got me singing. Like this guy just has a beautiful falsetto, an insane falsetto and voice. And I got so into it. And it's kind of crazy because not many people knew that band, but very separately, 2 other members of the collection were also very into Anathalo growing up. And so it's actually had a pretty profound impact on how we think about music as a band, because 3 of us just happen to be 3 of the random few fans in the entire US that loved Anathalo. So we found out that we all actually had been at the same concert when we were like 16 and 17 and we didn't know each other.
That's some of the best stuff comes from that is talking to someone about a show and then realizing you're both there.
Yeah, it's so great. And actually what's crazy about Anathalo is they broke up. I mean, many years ago they broke up, but one of their members quit and then co-started the band Fun. So he's one of the 3 members of Fun, and he used to be in Anathalo. And it was fun to kind of follow that trajectory of like, wow, now this guy's in this giant pop group. He went from this like little known band. So
well, it's the same thing with Nate coming out of the format, like just being like, you're in a crazy emo band, now you're in like singing with fucking Pink, and
yeah, it's incredible. It's so inspiring to me. I love Fun. I mean, Nate's sense of melody is a huge inspiration to me too, and his voice.
You mentioned you came out of a musical family. What was the first like thing that brought you to music? Were you forced to take piano lessons as a kid, like so many of us?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and forced to take piano lessons from my mom, which is a particular thing. But there was a point where I just like I was hating piano, and I knew the basics. I knew how to read sheet music. I knew how to play like very basic songs, but we had guitars laying around, and I just took it upon myself to teach myself guitar. And then at that point I was like, I quit piano and started playing guitar, like so many people, and thinking guitar was so cool. And then eventually came back to piano and was like, oh, actually I love this instrument so much. So I returned to it. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely, there was a lot of, it was just normal in my family to learn music. We all learned choir. We all learned harmony. We all learned reading music. My whole family. It was a very basic part of our upbringing for sure.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone in all the years we've been doing this show that that didn't start out with piano and go, yeah, I wish I kept doing it, or ran back to it when I got older and realized how big of a dick I was for quitting piano when It's actually amazing.
Totally. I mean, I when I talk to people who are like, I want to start playing music, but I don't know what instrument to start. I'm always like, it doesn't matter what you eventually do. Like if you want to do violin or guitar or whatever, like do it. But I always suggest people start with piano because it makes the musical scales all make more sense than like any other instrument I've been on. So I'm like, do piano for 2 years and then switch to whatever else you want. You'll get it so much more.
As a kid, when you grabbed that guitar and you just wanted to go do that, was because as a kid, this, I think it happened to a lot of us who first picked up a guitar, like you just rush out and find someone else who plays music and try to start a band and jam with your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think like you just watch all these videos and like see things of people playing guitar, and it's so much more accessible because like, yeah, you don't have to carry it. You don't have to carry a piano anywhere. So it's so much easier to just be like, hey, you want to come over and play guitars together? And I mean, it's weird, I bought an electric guitar when I was younger, but I never got very into it. And I started, I was playing acoustic all the time. And that was about the time that I was getting into Dashboard Confessional and Bright Eyes and all these things. And there were a lot of friends that were in my community, a lot of whom I'm still very close with now, like 20 years later. But, a lot of them were also playing music and very into acoustic stuff. And so, even as young kids, like we had no idea what a record label was. We just knew like, oh, all these bands are on a label. So like we started our own fake label as like 15-year-olds. And
what was it called?
Old Ridge Records, which was the road that I lived on at the time.
Okay.
We thought it was cool. We were into Saddle Creek Records, so we thought Old Ridge sounded pretty similar. And I mean, for us, that just meant we had a MySpace page that had all of our different songs on it and all that said Old Ridge Records. But it was definitely like, instead of going over to each other's houses and like having drums and electric guitars, like we were playing like sad acoustic folk songs for the most part.
What was the name of the first band you were in?
I don't want to tell you. It's so
you have to. Everybody does. I force it. You got, because we're trying to one day when we get to our 10,000th episode, we will pick who had the worst first band name.
It's pretty bad. So this this first band idea came out of being young and being at one of those like giant Christian conferences called Acquire the Fire, and we were all there and we got the idea for this name and we called it Solitary Altar Call, which is one, a terrible band name, but two, if you just do like the first letters, it's SAC, which is like way funnier to me now to think about. Like our first sort of Christian sounding band was called SAC.
An anagram for sack.
Yeah.
Wow. I like, listen, the name's not terrible. If you listen through some of our episodes, and you'll find some real doozies in there. So it's not terrible.
So I won't end up on the top list, probably.
No, probably not. No, I can probably already tell you won't.
That band I was actually playing electric guitar in that band. And, I mean, at the same time we're getting into folk music, we're getting into like Under Oath and Norma Jean and The Chariot and listening to all these, kind of Christian-y metal bands. And so, I mean, that band was doing its best to be that kind of thing. And we lived in this community. There's this little like community center building, and had like a swimming pool attached, and they would do like youth room stuff. And we decided to start having our own little festival like once a year. And we would get, 4 bands to play this thing. It's like, 15, 16-year-olds. And it was pretty cool actually, because music I lived way out in the country. So music just did not happen there. I lived like an hour south of Charlotte, North Carolina. And we would just bring all these people into the space, and, as a 16-year-old to put on a show and be like, there's 100 people in this room that came from our high schools and came from this place, and they're listening to this music. It's like, it was the most glorious feeling. I mean, it definitely got me addicted to the idea of playing shows and just how fun it can be to play for people in a room, even if you're playing a solitary altar call and playing terrible metal music.
Well, there's no better drug than the stage.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. Truly. So I got sober like a year and a half ago, and
good for you. Congratulations.
Alcohol. Thank you. And it's like been interesting to figure out like what things still make my body feel like that high, because it's different. Like you get sober and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like there's nothing to replace this feeling of just like being high and being out of my body. And like, sometimes those magical shows are one of the few things that I play them and I get off stage and I'm like, whoa, like it just feels like I did a lot of drugs on stage.
Well, that was the thing. I go back to it all the time because I absolutely love, and Trent Reznor said, he's like, the reason why I was addicted to drugs was because I was addicted to performing. And he's like, I was never really, he's like, probably a couple times drunk or high on stage. He goes, but I wasn't. He's like, I was so high from just having that feeling of performing. And when I would get off the stage and that feeling was gone, I couldn't find anything that did it. So
Whoa.
that's when he's like, I turned to drugs to find that feeling of when I'm not performing, that feeling I had while I was performing.
Whoa. That makes so much sense to me. That just rings so true in my body. I mean, the post show and even post tour emotional crash is like, it's so close to the dopamine crashes I've had after like certain drugs that are just like, you're just so low and you're trying to find your way back into your body into being okay because it's such a high doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even now for me to just go to shows, I get, this past weekend, I was in Philly at a show, and, 3 bands who were on the show, and they were all playing together, and it was awesome. And I get to hang out with everybody, and they're just an amazing 3-band set. All 3 bands are completely different sounding, and it was just like this awesome night. And I just get back to my hotel room and I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that was fucking amazing. I can't go to bed now. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah, truly. I resonate with it so much. Yeah.
Besides putting on those shows that you were doing in the middle of nowhere, what was the first show that you ever saw? Your first like actual concert that, I don't know, maybe your parents could have dragged you to?
Yeah, I remember going to like a Christian music festival, and I saw the first thing the only thing from that festival I remember was an artist named Rebecca St. James. And I honestly like didn't even listen to her that much, and I could not tell you a single one of her songs. But I do remember, actually I remember 2 things from there. I remember seeing her perform, and I think it was fine. But then I remember seeing this artist named Jennifer Knapp, who was pretty big in the Christian scene. And then like 10 years ago, she, like maybe longer than that, she came out of the closet as a lesbian and, was kind of kicked out of the Christian scene. And now she's still performing.
Which is a very unchristian thing to do, but
yeah. But now she's got this kind of like Ani DeFranco vibe, and she's crushing it. We played a festival she was on a few years ago, and I remember seeing her perform pre all of that, and her talking about playing this show somewhere, like in between songs, she was talking about a different show she was playing, and that it was pouring the whole time, and she had to like keep dumping rain out of her guitar. And I remember like that story for some reason being a thing that made me be like, I want to play shows. Like, like that's so hardcore that she was pouring water out of her guitar. I was like, I want to be that kind of person. Yeah, that was early. I mean, I must have been 10 years old at that point.
What was the first show you got to pick to go to that you picked, said, I want to go to this show?
It was probably like a local metal show, but honestly, the first one that I like really, really remember is that Anna Follow show. I think I was 16 and I had gotten sewn to Anna Follow, and I asked my mom if she would drive me up to it, and it was like 3 hours away, and you had to have a parent guardian with you. And yeah, she drove me up to that show that I guess my future bandmates were in as well. And there was a band that opened called Lost in the Trees, they used to be this local band here, and they had like 14 members and like cinematic string sections and stuff. And it was just, I mean, it was mind blowing. I walked away from that show being like, I'm going to play everything.
Now, when it comes to you performing, do you have a show that you played that stands out for good or bad that you would want to tell someone about?
I mean, so many shows that feel good, honestly. And it's always unpredictable. Like sometimes you think the show that's going to have 1,000 people at it is going to be your favorite show, and it's not. And sometimes you think the one that has 40 is going to be your least favorite, and it ends up being your favorite. So it's so unpredictable what the like magic of people in a room is. I mean, we just opened for Sammy Ray and the Friends, and we played in Athens, Georgia. And I remember going into it just being like, I don't know anything about Athens. I don't know if these people are going to like it. And it was like truly one of my most favorite shows we've ever played. Just the crowd energy was insane. And we were teaching these people our songs, and they were singing along, and it was just nuts. It was totally nuts. So that's definitely on the best list. The one that I just immediately thought of, I wouldn't say the worst list, but the smallest show that we ever played was in Columbia, Ohio. And I was so sick that day, like just felt awful. And I mean, this was now I feel like when people are sick, they're like, we're not playing. But at the time you're just like, I'm sick, but I still have to play, And we never played Columbia, and we ended up having 7 people in there. It was the smallest show we ever played. And sometimes when there's a small amount of people in the room, you can have so much fun. But like we were trying our best to just be like, let's give these people like a kick-ass show. We'll play our hardest, and then in between songs, we would kind of just like not goofing on the fact of like, oh, there's nobody here, but just like, let's ask like the tiny crowd like questions and get answers. And so there was like, there's a table of two, and then there was like another table of two, and then there was a table of three. And this table of three, you could tell they were not having it. Like they were so not happy that we were asking questions. They were not having the fact that there was nobody in the room. And so it just kept like, the energy just kept dropping the whole time, because you're like, there's 7 people here and half of them hate what is happening right now. It was definitely a pretty low point for me while being sick too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how often do you have that, I would guess, nervous sensibility about traveling to a new place, a new venue to see what's this turnout going to be like?
Oh, I mean, all the time. It's just so, you just never know like what something's going to be in a new space. And we played like this random little town in Iowa this year, and it's at the beginning it sold almost no tickets. And so going into it, I was like, we're going to have 5 people here on a Monday at this town in Iowa in this really big room. And I was so anxious about it. And then we showed up, and like there was, at least for us in a new city, there was a decent crowd, and a lot of them knew the songs, and it ended up being like one of the most connective shows we had that whole tour. And so, yeah, I get really anxious about it all the time, but I also get very surprised about it all the time.
Well, it's good. I mean, if you build up your hopes for something and it turns out to be terrible, I mean, that's, a double whammy. You go back to you go back to, what was it, dodgeball when Vince Vaughn's. I found that if you don't have goals,
right,
you're not disappointed if you don't achieve it.
Right.
It's like it does make sense.
Yeah, I hate to live my life this way, but sometimes in the touring context, there is a little bit of like, set your expectations low so you can be surprised. Like there's definitely a bit of that mentality going into it that I tend to try not to have in the rest of my life, but it's there.
Where's your favorite city to perform currently for as long as you've been doing this? Do you have a favorite stop on tour?
Yeah, if it's okay, I might name 2. Because
no, you're only allowed 1. This is we're pushing for time.
Okay, no, that's great.
You can give me as many as you want.
They're just very different. But Chicago and Seattle. I mean, I'm not going to say North Carolina ones because that's where we're from, and of course those are like incredible shows. But Chicago is always the best energy. I don't know what it is, but people there come out, they sing along loudly, they dance. Like the energy is just wild there to me. And Seattle is like kind of the same way. Like it's probably one of our biggest cities outside of North Carolina, and people are always just like so pumped about it and so kind. And yeah, I love it. Anytime we have a tour that has either of those cities on it, I get so excited about it.
So everybody listen to this. If you want to see them, go see them in Seattle or Chicago.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, we've literally had people who fly out to our Chicago shows because they know that they're so fun.
And Chicago's got this weird thing with music. Like there's not tons and tons of amazing bands that come out of Chicago, but Chicago just has this music scene that everybody wants to go there and play. Whether you're a metal band or a folk band or a pop band or everyone says, they're like, dude, Chicago's fucking, for some reason, it just kicks ass. Yeah, so maybe just all the fans live there.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Like I haven't, I should ask more bands that same question because I feel like I haven't heard what cities a lot of bands like, but that makes sense. Other people have that experience. And yeah, there's also a sweet spot of like, there's different regions of the country that I feel like just handle music differently. Like the South, for example, where we are, it's like, I feel like people come to shows almost like to party and like get out of the house. So sometimes like the South can be very loud, like a lot of talking, a lot of talking. And then, a place like the Northeast and like New England, like people are very quiet in a way that's almost the opposite, where sometimes you're like, I wonder if they're liking this, depending on the city, because people are so quiet. And it's nice though, because on the opposite end, you're like, well, it's not as rowdy, but people are like listening. But I feel like Chicago, for some reason, culturally, is this weird sweet spot where like people want to party, but they're also listening and like participating. And there's only a few cities that I feel like that sweet spot happens in. Like Denver, that happens to us too. And it's such a sweet spot to feel like people are listening and participating and having fun, and we get enough feedback on stage to know that all those things are happening.
Now, if someone never listened to your music and you would want them to get into the collection and you had to play them one of your songs, just randomly on the street, you told someone you were in a band, they say, well, what kind of music to play? What song of yours would you play for them right now?
I'd probably play Won't Stop Yet. Yeah, I'd probably play Won't Stop Yet on our new EP. And I think just because like lyrically that song does a lot of what I want to do. Like I think there's a lot of words that are like straightforward. It talks about struggle in a way that like I think runs through our music, about just trying to be like, at least for me, like wanting to just be open and vulnerable about struggle, because I hope that like being vulnerable about it will allow other people to, which like helps us heal a little bit more. But then like not wanting a whole song all the time to always be about struggle, and like trying to put at least some like tiny little spark of hope into it, which I think that song does as well. And musically, it just is like one of my favorite drum parts our drummer has like ever done. So I like love showing off the drums on that song.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Would you play it for them because it's your favorite song you currently have out, or you think it's the best representation of the collection?
I think the second one. I mean, if I was picking a favorite, I'd probably right now pick Love at the End of the World, which is the last song on the EP.
Yeah, that's great.
But I don't feel like
I like the Addict of It All. That's mine.
Oh man, that's cool to hear. That that was really fun. Like I wrote that outro to only happen like 2 times, and then like we were getting in the studio and I was like, I think this should happen like 6 or 8 times, and it should just get more and more intense every time. And I hope that by the end of somebody listening to that song, they're a bit scared that their speakers are going to break. And so I've been curious how that song comes across, so I'm really glad you like it.
No, I love it. When it was sent to me a couple months back, and being able to hear it, and I'm like, oh fuck, this song, I don't know what it is. Now I'm an addict of this song, and I was just like, I just over and over again kept listening to it and playing it.
Cool. That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
When you're creating music, and are you thinking how the ending will be, how it will resonate with people, or are you focused in on just creating the best version of the song you can?
In the production of a song and in the arrangement, I think there's definitely thought about how it will come across. But I think in the core writing of the song for me, it is like, it's always about like what feels honest to me. And I never quite know, like sometimes I can write something that sounds honest, but it doesn't feel like me. And I always know like this song isn't going to carry. And for some reason, there's sometimes when I finish a song and it's just like, this feels real. Like I feel like I'm truly expressing something for myself that I really feel. That's when I'm like, okay, this song is ready. And I think that's probably true for everybody else in the band working on an arrangement. But I also think like in the end result, you start going like, okay, well, maybe this bridge section is happening twice as long. And even though it's fine twice as long, it's like when people listen, they're going to get bored. So maybe we should cut that off. Or, like I think some of those thoughts do go into production in a way that's probably healthy. But yeah, it's a mix of both for sure.
You started very young playing music. And so you were writing songs for a long time. Mm-hmm. Are you a nerd like me, where I still have, I'm an old man now, but I still have old books of writings? And if you still have those, do you ever go back to see if there was anything worthwhile?
I don't actually. I don't think I have any old books of songwritings that I know of. I'm sure I do somewhere, probably in my parents' attic. But as you can tell, I've not gone back and looked at them. Now I do, because like so much is because I drive all the time, like whether it's in the band or outside of the band. It's like I just got back from a writing retreat in Maine, and before that I was in Nashville, and I was in Nepal before that. Like I'm just kind of always going places. And so definitely the like phone notes and the voice memos app are like just so essential, because I can't write stuff down. So it's always just like, hey Siri, like, write this or whatever. And so I definitely scroll back to like, 8 years ago on my phone, I like wrote this, and maybe there's a nugget there. But I've found for me, like sometimes those become songs for sure. But I found for me that the songs that I feel the best about, and the songs for us that do the best, are the ones that all come to me right away. and not every song does that, but like if I take like, oh, I had these lyrical ideas and I wrote them down and blah blah, and if I try to fit anything into something, it doesn't. There's like something that doesn't quite fit for some reason. It's like trying to fit two pieces of wood into, into something that like they weren't actually built together to fit, and so you're like, let me saw this down, and then I like sawed it too much, and now I need to change the angle of this and blah blah. And it's like that versus just like you go to IKEA and you're like, these were made for each other, and now this table works, and it took me 15 minutes. Like for some reason, those ones just like sit with me better. So it's rare for me to take an old idea and turn it into a new song.
Saying that you travel and you're driving a lot, what's the most comfortable music you listen to while on a long road trip?
It's so mood specific, but there's one album I return to a lot by an artist named Lara G, who like made a lot of like hammered dulcimer music for Ram Dass, like during like spiritual stuff in the 70s. And he has this one record called Essence Universe, and it's an hour long. It only has 2 songs, so they're each 30 minutes, and it's like totally ambient, like bowed hammered dulcimer with like a choir behind it. And I will put that on repeat on long road trips, and it will like totally chill me out and make me feel like I'm high and just like on the road. So it's like that record has been spun more than almost anything else for me on a road trip.
That's great. My wife makes fun of me because she'll just be like, did you just go from liquid metal on XM to the symphony channel? I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. Just slow down. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Like, that's what I mean. It's like what calms me down, or like what's the best music for a road trip. It's like, I have no idea. And if somebody rode with me, it would be very chaotic, I think.
That's what I love. I love the chaos of I drive a lot for work. And it's always, what mood am I in? The other day I found myself, I was driving to Philly for the show, and I found myself all of a sudden realized there was nothing on. I didn't even know. The radio wasn't on. There was no talking. And I was probably a good 20 minutes into my ride before I realized that there's nothing going on, because maybe there was a song already playing in my head. I had no idea, but I almost wanted to pull off on the side of the road and just be like, are you okay? Like, what? Like, you just drove in complete silence for almost 20 minutes. What's going on?
I resonate with that so much. I mean, as a kid, actually, I remember my mom, who, like I said, is obsessed with music and so involved in music. But I remember at one point she told me, like, David, you need to learn to be able to be in silence sometimes, because I just always had music on. And she was like, this isn't sustainable, And I was like, why not? It feels way better. Like, I just love to always have music on. It's so great. The only time I can't have it on is when I'm trying to sleep, but any other time of day, I'm so happy to reinforce whatever mood I'm in by finding the right songs for it.
Absolutely. And for me, I need sound to go to sleep. I have to have sound, whether it's talking or music. I need it. I need it to fall asleep. I don't know. I kind of know why, but it's one of those things where even my wife, she's like, I can't sleep like that. I'm like, what do you care? You close your eyes and you fall asleep in 3 seconds. I can't fall asleep, and I need this, and you can't hear it anyway until you wake up because you have to pee at 2:00 in the morning and then tell me to turn it off.
I'm so jealous of those kind of people that fall asleep in 3 minutes.
I hate it. Incredible. I hate it. And no, I'm not kidding. 3 seconds. She'll read a book. She'll be reading a book, close the book, move her pillow, and then I'll hear a snore. I'll be like, what the fuck? How is this possible? How can anyone do this? It drives me insane.
When people are like, if you could have any superpower, and that you could pick any superpower, what would you want it to be? And people are always like, invisible or flying. And I'm like, literally being able to fall asleep. I would pick that over anything else.
I'm right there with you. I want to be able to fall asleep immediately and wake up immediately when I want to. Like that I think that would be the greatest superpower.
Totally.
Go to sleep now, and you just snap a finger and you're out. And then I need to be up at 6:30, and at 6:30 you wake up, jump out of bed, and you're ready to go.
Totally. I have a weird power with that, which is if I set an alarm, I almost always wake up 15 minutes before the alarm. And it doesn't matter if I have to go to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, I'll wake up at 4:15 if my alarm's at 4:30, even if I slept 2 hours. Like, my body just some reason.
Well, that's travel anxiety.
Yeah, that's true.
So there is things I've looked into it, because I am that way all the time. If I set an alarm, I'm never woken by my alarm.
Yeah, it's
ever,
wild.
ever.
But if you
And
don't set it, you're gonna sleep in. You have to set it.
It's, that you have something to do. So, and it actually, you get one of the, even if it feels like you are refreshed from your sleep, your mind never stopped. Your mind was still going while you were asleep because it knew it had to get up and do something. You just don't feel that it was. So by the time you're done the next day of that, you're more exhausted than you've ever been, even though you felt you've slept the right amount. Your body never stopped working.
Yep, I resonate with that so much. So it's not a superpower; it's just like a medium power.
Yeah,
average power.
It's a shitty power, really, to have if it fucks you up. It's.
Oh God.
Do you have a band in your life that you constantly turn to that like never lets you down? And don't get me wrong, there's some bands that I have in my life that I absolutely love that have created some really shitty music, but just knowing that you have a band that, for good or bad, you can always turn to them and you'll absolutely love them. I always say Rolling Stone categorizes as a favorite band, but I don't call it that. I have bands that don't let me down and I can always turn to their music whenever I need something.
Totally. Not a band, but an artist, Leif Vollebeck, 100% that way. Like his entire catalog means something to me. And actually this last year was the first year in like 6 years that he wasn't my top artist on Spotify. And it's just like, no matter what mood I'm in, there's always some Leaf songs at work and they always like hit me right where I need emotionally. And I've seen him live a couple times, and like once solo and once with the band, and both were truly some of the best shows I've ever seen. I just think he's unbelievable.
Did you cry at any of those shows?
Oh, 100%. But I don't know that means anything because I cry very easily, especially at shows. It doesn't take much to make me cry.
When it comes to shows, for me, I have moments that stand out that I was not ready for it.
Yeah.
And it just, I did that. I don't know if you know a band called the Lone Bellow.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, they played in a church here in New Jersey, and they turned the microphones off and they just stood there on stage and they sang, and it was the most beautiful, harmonious thing I'd ever seen. And all of a sudden I'm fucked. Like I don't know what's going on. I look at my wife, she's crying hysterically too. I'm like, what is going on right now? I was not prepared for this tonight.
I love it. I mean, again, to me, it's like those moments where you're like, oh yeah, like music can change people like that. The amount of times in a whole lifetime that you actually get to feel something that deeply in a surprising way is like so rare, actually. And I definitely have a few of those moments that when I think about most impactful show moments, I'm like, oh my God, this thing. And I was just broken open, and it changed me.
Yeah, listen, I hate that I just told that story because I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm like, fuck, stop. I don't even remember what song it was. All I know is at that moment, I was an absolute mess.
Totally. I love that. I went and saw Blind Pilot like when I was in college. So, I mean, 20 years ago. And I didn't have any friends at that time. And so I just went by myself, and the opener was a band called the Low Anthem. And at the time, I mean, it was like one of their first tours. And yeah, I just remember like they broke into the first song, and I was just up front in the stage by myself, just being like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And then all of a sudden I'm just crying. And I'm like, these people are like, who is this fucker who's just crying by himself in the front row to this band nobody knows? And I stood there and cried for 2 songs straight. I mean, it was insane.
Well, let's keep it on the harsh part right now. If the world were to end, meteors come and crash into the earth in 5 minutes, and you have to listen to one song to go out to, what song are you listening to?
I'm sorry if it's a repetitive answer, but there's a Leif Vollebeck song called Elegy that I think is like about his friend dying, and it's like a beautiful sum up of like life and connection in a way. And it's also like, it might be my favorite song of all time. And I would want to hear that one more time for sure.
That's all. And listen, it's fine. You're doing PR. It's all good.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to coming up with what you have on the docket for the collection?
I mean, we're about to tour all of March, and we're playing Chicago. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. And we're like coming back to a lot of cities we'd played opening for Sammy Ray, and also just to get a play like Love at the End of the World and Addict of It All, like these songs that have been marinating for a while, just to get to play them at shows and have people have heard them. Like that experience is just, to me, the first time you play a song that is newly out in front of a crowd is like one of my favorite experiences, because you still feel so alive with the song, and so does the crowd. So that's a really big one. The March tour is really big. And then we're actually headed into the studio to start our next full length. And I am just like, I mean, I think every artist feels this anytime that you are going into a new batch of songs, but like, it's taken me 4 years to write the songs for this record, because I would write an entire record and then I would be like, that's not it. Like, this isn't the thing. And it really has just been in the last few months that it's all come together in a way where I'm like, this is what I want to say. This is where I'm at. And the record is just, to me, feeling like the most true thing that I've had come up in a long time. So I'm feeling so excited to hit the studio with that, especially coming off the back of this EP, which to me feels like kind of the bridge, like musically and lyrically, the bridge from what we've done before into this next record. So I'm unbelievably excited to be in the studio. I love the studio.
Well, now I have something to look forward to, so I appreciate that. No, I'm excited. Well, I don't want to keep you here forever. This has been absolutely amazing, sitting here, spending some time with you and talking. And right now, I'd love to give you an opportunity to tell everybody out there how to find what it is you're doing, how to keep up, all your handles and all that good jazz stuff that everybody has to be a part of nowadays.
Totally. You can find us on the internet pretty much at The Collection Band or at Collection Band, basically anywhere. And yeah, like I said, we have the new EP out, and it's out on everything. If you search The Collection, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, socials are, I think, all at The Collection Band to be able to find us. And we're on everything, like you have to be, which is fun.
Yeah. You definitely have to be.
Yeah.
So. But before we move into our final category of today, again, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate, and we appreciate what you do as an artist in bearing your soul and, putting it out there for us to pick and judge and fall in love with. So, this is a heartfelt thank you for what it is you do, because we truly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Well, thank you. You're really good at this, which is nice. Not to gas you up too hard, but today I had a conversation with a friend. I was like, yeah, I have some interviews today. And they were like, do you like interviews? And I was like, yeah, if the person's good, but sometimes they're really terrible. And it was nice to go into this and be like, oh, this is really fun, actually. So great. I've really enjoyed this last hour. Thank you.
Well, listen, we're just looking to have some fun, trying to bring, maybe a small bright spot into an otherwise dark day that someone may be having. So that's all we're trying to do. It's music, right? We all love it. I think it's the universal language around the world that everybody can agree on. That music can bring everyone together. There's nothing else that can do that.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
So we're into our last segment. It is called our Weekly Threes. It's 3 things that you're listening to right now that you would like people to check out.
Ooh, wow, so good. What am I listening to right now? The new Samir record is so good. There's this like little band from Durham, North Carolina, that we're having them open a few shows for us on this next tour. They're called Dissimilar South, and it's like just this like sweet queer rock group that like I saw them live this summer and just was totally blown away, especially because they're pretty young and like the stuff they're doing is incredible. And I listen to their record a lot. They're called Dissimilar South. And then I discovered this amazing band that's this year that I can't stop listening to called Mega Mango. And I'm pretty sure they're from Philly actually, but they're like mind blowing as well. And like, I think pretty young kids, but they're just like doing some kind of cool mathy poppy semi like Remy Wolf stuff that's like unbelievable. So I don't know. There's
Nice.
a few.
Yeah, I mean, they could be from Philly. There's, as I tell everybody, there's basically 4 places in the world right now where bands are from. It's Brooklyn, Philly, Nashville, or LA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's weird. They're like, oh yeah, no, we're from Brooklyn. I'm like, no, but really, where are you from? Oh, well, I'm from Ohio, and
Right.
and I'm like, yeah, exactly. Okay.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
It's okay to be from Ohio.
That's true. I mean, it's funny, but I almost like clue out when people say they're from LA as a band. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
If somebody says Ohio, I'm like, cool. Where? Like,
Yeah.
tell me. You know what I mean? Like, that's so interesting to me from people being from like more sort of like more American places. In certain
Exactly. That's one of my things and I like to find out about the scene. You know, I've had people, they're like, oh yeah, no, we're from Alabama. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Tell me about your scene in Alabama. How,
Totally.
you know, like, what's it like? Cause I grew up, you know, right outside of New York City. So for me, the scene was what it is, and it still is the same thing to this day. But I don't know how you grew up in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, or in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, and how music, you know, became something for you. That's what I love to find out.
Well, you got to come visit Saxabaha, man. We've got like the coolest music venue here with like incredible shows and really good bands. So,
well, if I'm in the area, I will definitely. I travel to shows all the time. So
yeah, hit me up. We'll put you up and we'll show you a good time in Saxabaha and show you the scene here.
Awesome. Well, here's my 3 for this week in no particular order. As always, my first one is a band called Somos, SOMOS. The name of the album is Prison on a Hill. Indie rock with a little new wave sensibility to it. Absolutely into the album right now. So check that out. Next band is a band called No Win. If you look it up, just capitalize No Win for it. The name of the album is Dodger Stadium. Fuck genre labels. I think I'm just going to stop trying to explain what it is. If you like music, go listen to it. If you don't like it, you can always turn it off. You're not buying it, right? You can fucking find it anywhere now. So, and last but not least is a band called Death Lens. And the name of the album is No Luck, and it's just loud rock music. So
cool.
There you go.
Love it. I just like literally was typing those into my Spotify. So you're saying.
That's what I do. I was down in Philly. I traveled to the show. I stayed over. I was at a bar beforehand, having a beer, eating some dinner, and struck up a conversation with somebody and just start talking about music. And what are you listening to right now? And they tell me, and then the first thing I do is type it up. I take a picture of it on Spotify, and then when I have a chance, then I go listen to it. And I'd be like, that person either has really good taste or they don't know fucking music, but at least I'll find out later, not in front of them.
Yep, 100%.
But David, again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate what you're doing. We can't wait at putting a new album. We hope your tour goes off without a hitch. You're playing some pretty cool places around. I saw where you were playing. Some of them are pretty cool. So I hope you have fun doing that. And yeah, thank you again so much.
Cool. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Well, everybody, you know what time it is. It's that time. It's time to go out, listen to the collection, and have a great fucking time.
Place you on my tongue. I wanna watch you come undone. Wrap around every sound, move me. Shadows dancing on the walls. Can we make the room dissolve? Nothing left but heavy breath and move me. I just wanna feel until I feel nothing. I just wanna heal from becoming something. I'm now an addict of all of that magic, and I can't give it up. I just wanna feel until I feel nothing. I just wanna scream until I stop breathing. I'm now an addict of everything magic, and I can't give it up. I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. I'm an addict of it all. took a couple tabs too many, and I woke up in infinity. Everything became the same old me. I just wanna lose my mind. I don't wanna get lost in time. Laugh or cry, live or die, move me. I just wanna feel until I feel nothing. I just wanna heal from becoming something. I'm now an addict of all of that magic, and I can't give it up. I just wanna feel until I feel nothing. I just wanna scream until I stop breathing. I'm now an addict of everything magic, and I can't give it up. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. I'm an addict of it all. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all. Just gonna live to break my fall. Yeah, I'm an addict of it all.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions to myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.